We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Coppola questions. My biggest question is, why would the chauffeur just take Randy to Sheridan when, like, Tommy paid for the whole thing? Obviously, he set it up because he shows up in the car in his pink suit to pick up Julie, and then she jumps in the car later on with Randy. So maybe he was like, "Oh, okay, so we're
maybe
switching
he just
out
forgot
now."
who he looked like, or maybe he forgot what.
All teenage white kids look the same.
Yeah,
Swinger, dude. So he's like, "Oh, this is totally cool, man. I can dig it."
I'm into the
He got
scene.
paid. Who gives a fuck?
yeah. Maybe he's an ex-hippie too, so he's just like, whatever, man.
It's all
Maybe
pink in the
$100
dark,
for the
man. Yeah, I don't think there's an answer to that question, but it was just funny. It's like, you think that they're going to the same room that Tommy had paid for?
Yeah, I mean, it was the 80s. I assume that rules were a lot lax. You could just say you're somebody and they'd be like, oh, okay. Like, shows up at the Sheraton. Yeah, I booked a room under
I'm Tommy.
whatever. They'd say, okay. I mean, the guy clearly drinks all the time, underage, so maybe nobody cares.
There's a lot of, like, because they set up that Julie and Tommy had never been together, like, sexually. Mm-hmm. And they also say that Randy and her had never been together sexually after making out nonstop for a month or whatever. So this was all kind of setting up that she was going to lose her virginity at the Valley Sheridan, and then she's kind of like smirks when he says, yeah, let's go. So it's just this whole, like, ending of the movie is a little far-fetched. The whole third act was him stalking her nonstop.
Yeah. Well, they had to get over the manufactured conflict of her breaking up with him because they got back together because
This is really the hero's journey, that story arc.
I couldn't tell if
everything's
this was
going along, and then suddenly there's conflict, and then everything comes back together.
Which is also what happens in romantic movies and rom-coms and stuff. This one felt like super cliche, and I don't know if it was ahead of all the cliches, and that's why stuff ripped it off later, or if it was kind of ripping off other. I haven't seen many romantic movies from the 70s or 60s, so I don't know. But
I feel like this was already a
template
trope
was already there
that existed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
I think
they were
maybe
just doing the story by numbers.
Yeah, but this was a pretty popular movie, so maybe other movies ended up copying this.
Yeah, that's what I wonder.
Formula. So we sort of asked this in the moment, but do you think that club at the beginning was like an all ages club? Because everybody in his group was supposed to be in high school, because he says that he's in Hollywood High, Fred's in Hollywood High, and then Julie and her friends are obviously in high school because we see them in high school several times, and they go to prom. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely, if they are 18, they just turned 18, but I would imagine this is like a 21 and older type of club because it looks like there's alcohol there.
I thought it was.
When could you drink? Was 18 the drinking age back then?
I think so.
That's a good question.
No, I think 21 was. I think in the 70s is when they made it.
Okay.
21 federally. Technically, it's not 21 federally. They tie it to, I think, interstate funding. Like if states don't, because states can still set the drinking age to whatever they want, but they set it to where like you don't get any federal funding for your highways unless you set it to 21, and that's why all the states had to change it to 21.
Makes sense.
But before that, they were all independent. Like I know, like Idaho was like 18 when my dad was in college because they were in. He went to Wazoo, and they just drive over to Idaho to get booze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I assume the club was a 21 and older club, and Randy just knew the bouncer, and that's who let him in.
Yeah. I think that the underage kids are drinking outside, but then when they're inside, they're all drinking sodas and stuff. And that's why we see Randy drinking that bottle of wine or whatever outside, and then he doesn't take it in with him.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably all ages then, and then they just don't serve the minors.
Yeah. Did Julie put those photos of Randy in her school book, or did he sneak into her house and put them there?
Oh, he snuck in.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all photos of him.
I thought originally
like
it was
photos of him
she
being
had
sad.
them. Yeah, but
that's
now
what
it
I
makes
was
more
thinking.
sense. If it's in the montage of him intruding into her life by stalking her, then yeah, he definitely put him there.
Yeah. So how did he get them in there? Opens up a whole little Pandora's box of creepiness.
I'm guessing he snuck into her house, or her dad let him
I
in.
think so.
Dad let her in. Sure, man. Come right in.
Yeah, I think she's even in
Go
bed.
in her bedroom,
Go
man.
on.
It's cool.
Go wait for her, man. Far out.
Then the only other real question I had is, I think we answered it, but do you think he was like, do you think he had to like pay the people off when he was like pretending to work in those places?
Nah, he just showed up.
He just shows up in a chef outfit. Sure, I'll take that food.
Yeah, he's like grabbing, like you mentioned, like he's like grabbing it from the guy. The guy's just like, oh, okay.
I mean, is it really
Yeah.
illegal to impersonate a theater employee?
I guess
No,
not.
Just
I
a
mean, I
cop
assume the
and a
worst that
doctor.
happened is they'd kick him out once they realize he's standing at the door taking tickets from people. But
Yeah.
if he's just doing it for that group, he probably has time to just do it and then cut out.
Yeah.
Before they kick
Free
him out.
labor, man. We don't got to pay this guy.
So like the ticket booth is like right there. So she's
Yeah.
probably looking over and being like, who the hell is this guy? I also thought it was funny that Tommy never recognized him.
I know.
Right. Yeah.
Like, isn't
Well, he
that the
had
guy I
glasses
punched in
on.
the face?
And then he looked like a geek in the next one when he's as the waiter or whatever, the drive-through employee.
I saw him when I was at the hot dog on a stick sticking out my ass. See him over there.
What was the whole fucking point of the stepmom thread?
Yeah.
Because it just goes nowhere. Like,
I think it was
Just
part of
shoehorned
the
in there.
exploitation thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there's always, kind of these sexual undertones in these movies of trying to hook up with an older lady, and and she was hot, and Skip was young stud, so I don't know. It felt creepy and unnecessary, but I feel like Porky's and movies like that kind of did this sort of thing, and that was kind of all the rage to get teenagers to go to movies.
Yeah. It didn't have internet porn, so movies
Exactly,
had to serve
yeah.
a dual purpose.
Yeah, it was a great make-out film, and I think those types of movies in general, that's what they were meant for. It was like, well, you can't get a hold of porn, but you can get a hold of this, and it's like who's that? Sid Meier. I can't remember his name. There was a guy who made a living just making these types of movies. These teen show
John
some
Hughes.
breasts, have a very thin plot going throughout, but mostly it's just to show breasts, and that's pretty much it. Make a fortune off of that. Shitty movie that's filmed, and the script was written in 10 days. Probably film it in like a week or two.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Valley Girl. Fast
Show some
Times,
titties, Fast Times. Yeah.
Animal House. Wasn't he like being advised to keep doing these kind of heartthrob films?
I think
teen
so,
heartthrob
yeah.
films?
Probably.
And he decided that's not the career he wanted.
It's a lot of people have this same trajectory. It's like Tom Cruise was in nothing but like rom-coms and stuff, and then he broke out and decided to do other things. And then Brad Pitt did the same thing, where he was like in Legends of the Fall and all those movies where he was just kind of the heartthrob, but then he started doing more edgy roles and stuff. And I think Cage did the same thing, but before everybody else. Really.
Yeah.